Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend because, hey, it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
All right, Jess, I agree. Let's get going, everybody. Hi, and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast today. Today's topic is supercharging identity access and management. Pretty cool topic. Really looking forward to diving into this one. I want to start by saying a big thank you for joining us today. All you attendees out there, keep letting us know where you are logging in from. I see folks from Kansas City and Austin, Maryland, which is my neck of the woods, New York, California, Chicago, Arkansas, kind of like all over the place, Ohio, Virginia, St. Louis, El Paso, Winnipeg. So we've got a Canadian there, DC, also my neck of the woods. So thanks, everyone. Keep letting us know where you are today. Now, on the EcoCast, we have got some major players on tap for you. You're going to be hearing from Keeper, Security, and Front Egg and Rubrik. How about that? Quite a lineup. Cannot wait to get going. My name, for those of you who don't know me, is Keith Ward. I am with Actual Tech Media, and I am totally stoked to be your moderator for today's event. Now, the other members of our legendary mod squad include Jess Steinbach, who you just met, Scott Becker, and Mackenzie Pudici. Now, we know you came here for the learning today, but you are also going to get more than just learning. We're giving away three $300 Amazon gift cards, so that's one after every presentation today. Now, just a quick reminder that you must be in attendance during the entire event to qualify for the prizes, but that should be no problem at all because you all really want to be here and hear what we have got on tap for you. And with that, let's get the show on the road. What do you say, huh, folks? Our keynote today comes from the great Larry Seltzer, who is providing an overview of this topic of identity management, etc., during a chat with our very own Mackenzie Pudici. So, Mackenzie and Larry are ready to go. I am going to turn this over to you. Mackenzie, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am Mackenzie Pudici from Actual Tech Media, and I am excited to have Larry Seltzer here with me today to talk about identity and access management. Thank you so much for joining me, Larry.
Always great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. So, Larry, let's set the stage for everyone out there today looking to supercharge their identity and access management strategy and implementation. I'm going to assume most of the audience today already has some form of IAM infrastructure in place. So with that in mind, what are the key components of a successful identity and access management strategy?
Okay, well, IAM touches on almost all aspects of IT security. So a good IAM strategy strengthens your whole security strategy and vice versa. The first big obvious aspect is authentication. Deploy single sign-on and especially multi-factor authentication as widely as possible. Both allow you to enforce strong authentication to all enterprise assets. And it's amazing how often we still see successful attacks that would have been blocked by multi-factor authentication. Passwords are still generally required, so giving users some system for password management and educating them on how to use it is also a good way to keep authentication as strong as possible. Authorization doesn't get enough explicit call out. You need to have a strategy for granting access to resources and think of it that way. Deny all access by default and then grant where appropriate. And do it based on roles. I mentioned SSO before, single sign-on. It's part of enabling federation, another big part of IAM, which allows you to have one enterprise login that authenticates to other outside services. And of course, you need periodic training for all users for security. And there are companies that specialize in organizing and running that kind of thing.
So, are there anything people might be overlooking or some like easy wins they can achieve with minimal effort?
I don't know if I'd call it minimal, but there is something I um, probably I didn't mention that probably a lot of people overlook, and that's privileged access management or PAM. These are special systems to provide extra protections for especially sensitive accounts, generally administrator accounts. You can require approvals, enhanced logging. I've always thought of them, careful use of systems like this means attackers need to be really sophisticated to get past them and get and achieve a significant compromise.
Right, I like that. So you mentioned the MFA, and so I'm wondering how can organizations effectively implement multi-factor authentication to enhance their security? But also, is MFA still relevant, or are there kind of newer things, better things with in terms of the IM approaches that we could be considering right now?
Okay, well, right out of the gate here, MFA is still very relevant, even critical. I mentioned before that we still see attacks that get through that would have been blocked by MFA. And I guess this is a good time to talk about simple and sophisticated MFA strategies. Simple MFA, your father's MFA, that's a code sent either as an email to the user or an SMS to their phone. These are considered weak these days, which I think is a bit overwrought, but the fact remains that there are much better second factor alternatives. The most common is an authentication app on the user's phone that it holds cryptographic keys and does a PKI authentication with the IAM system to really strongly prove that the user controls the smartphone that the user is supposed to have, that the user logging in is that user, therefore. And that's a really strong form of authentication. One step up from that, perhaps, is FIDO keys, which are, got one here, these things. Um, and there, it has a little crypto processor in it, and there are keys stored on it, and that one has a fingerprint reader. That's the second factor there. So the key and the biometric can be two factors without a need for a password at all. The FIDO people came up with a software version of FIDO key called a passkey, which is supported by a lot of big services like Google and Microsoft. I had really high hopes for passkeys, but the user experience with them, especially setup, is disappointing if you ask me. There are many steps where it's not clear you've done what you're asked, and passkeys need work, I think. Um, it brings up another thing. MFA is complicated, and you need to have support available for when users have problems. If you're a global company, the support has to be global, probably multilingual. This is just one of the major reasons why it's best generally to use a cloud service-based IAM. There are other factors possible. A good IAM will notice if you're using a computer you've never used before, or one in a new or unusual location like Russia. Behavioral biometrics. There's something that tracks patterns and things like the pattern that you normally type, and if it sees an unusual pattern, that's a clue that maybe it's not the same user. Honestly, I can't imagine relying on that, but it's an interesting concept.
That is one I've heard about, and at first I was like, "Well, that's amazing," but also, like you said, like that would be a pretty tough one to flag and implement on the go.
There must be
But
lots of false positives in it.
yeah, I am one who's terrified to lose my phone because everything is linked through MFAs and passkeys and things through my phone. So that like I will guard that with my life because
Mhm.
trying to replace that would be a lot of work. So moving on, next thing is, can you explain the importance of role-based access control or RBAC in IAM systems?
Yeah, I should have. I mentioned roles before. I should have said more about it. RBAC, role-based access control, shows up in any good list of security practices, of best security practices. The idea is that you don't assign privileges to users. You assign them to groups that correspond to roles like HR user, finance admin, dev leader. Then you assign users to those groups, and then they get the privileges of that role. Users can, of course, belong to more than one role. The point is that it's easier to keep track and control of who has what privileges. There's nothing implementation specific about this. You can plan it in any IAM, and in fact, any operating system has this capability. And I'm going to bring up PAM one more time here because it's related. PAM systems can control not just privileged users, but high-risk devices. The risk may not be just for the type of device, but what's on it or its location. So those are some of the issues there with
Nice.
RBAC.
No, I think I'm seeing that more and more, and it makes a lot of sense with how to separate things amongst the organization. So I know we've talked about a lot of new things. We talked that MFA is definitely still relevant. So what are some of these untouched trends, perhaps, or trends we haven't talked about yet in IAM technology that organizations should be aware of? And of course, we have to address the elephant in the room. How are AI and machine learning affecting the coming, let's say, 5 years of IAM?
I think we've mentioned everything worth mentioning other than the elephant. The factors I mentioned above, the new computer, the odd location, I've heard these called risk-based authentication. And a more formal way of looking at it is that the system could be the IA, it could be the IAM, dynamically evaluates the risk of the login attempt and adjusts security measures accordingly. This is actually a pretty old thing. I know my bank account was doing it like 10, 15 years ago. Um, as they're generally understood, you don't need an AI for this sort of thing, but I bring it up because I think AI has the potential to make the decisions much more sophisticated. For instance, by integrating very current threat intelligence. Security products have been claiming they're using AI for a very long time, and I'm sure they have, and they are. Um, but long ago, that was about retrospective analysis, for instance, of huge collections of logs. I'm sure the AI models are getting better all the time. And the challenge, I imagine, is being able to run the monitoring through a model and get responses quick enough in real time to prevent damage. So that's, that kind of capability, really up-to-date intelligence affecting the security model. Um, I think AI can help with that a lot.
That's great. And so, any kind of final point to drive home? We've touched on a lot of things, but anything you just say, people keep this in mind.
Um, it's a shame that I have to say this, but make sure you have multi-factor authentication on really all accounts. It's there's just it's better to some people find it annoying, but it's better just to make a rule that we have it all the time on everything, um, rather than leave a door open.
Like that. So, anyone who has not set up your MFA on every account, do that first and foremost. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larry. It's been an absolute pleasure letting me pick your brain here. And with that, let's get back to the MegaCast.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And thank you, Larry and Mackenzie. All right, poll question up now for you folks. The first one of the event. Let us know what your time frame is for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company. There are 4 choices: 0 to 6 months. So are you kind of starting it now in the midst of it? 6 to 12 months, a little bit further out. Is it on the horizon, but not really close? So that would be 12 to 24 months, or not sure. Please let us know. Vote in this poll, and we would love to get your feedback. In terms of the MFA that they were talking about, I have to agree 100% with Larry and Mackenzie. Make sure you're doing that. I do it on the important stuff in my life. Primarily for me, it's my online banking things and any other that involve finances. Would love to hear back from all of you out there. Are you using MFA in your personal lives as well as your corporate lives, your business life too, where it's going to be much more often required, but there's certainly uses for it outside of your work or your employment, and well worth using for anything that you really have to safeguard. So 100% agree with that take there from the keynote. And thank you so much for voting. Continue voting here for another few seconds, and then we are going to move on and get to the first vendor presentation of the event. So I am going to get there now. So our first presentation today comes from Keeper Security. And presenting for Keeper today is Jonathan Padilla, a solutions engineer. Jonathan, thanks for being here today. I'm going to turn it over to you and your cohort, Adrian. So you have the mic.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Julian. I work in Keeper Security's marketing team, and I'm joined today by Jonathan Padilla, one of Keeper's longest tenured solutions engineers and a respected security engineer in the community as a whole. And today we're going to be talking about supercharging identity access management. So securing internal web-based applications and other highly sensitive websites is always a massive security concern that legacy VPNs and even modern ZTNA solutions often fail to address. So one of the challenges, and this was something that had started before the pandemic, but only became worse after, is that distributed work models present new security challenges since employees can now access corporate resources from different locations on different devices. So, and this is especially critical for IT and DevOps teams who are using privileged accounts to remotely perform infrastructure monitoring and management. So those teams need a secure, reliable, and scalable way to remotely connect their machines using RDP, SSH keys, VNC, MySQL, and other common protocols. So Jonathan is going to show some exciting tools that allow you to do just that in a way that is easier and just more secure. I'll give you the platform, Jonathan.
Hey, thank you very much, Adrian. I'm going to share my screen here, just go through a couple slides before we really start sinking our teeth into enhancing or supercharging identity access management. Let's get my screen going here. Anyway, yes, my name is Jonathan Padilla, and I am a solutions engineer here at Keeper Security. And I love doing what I do here, helping people protect their credentials and their infrastructure. Let's move on with supercharging identity access management or enhancing identity and access management. So look at this. This is staggering. 68% of our breaches involve the human element. And it's really just that. And I want to even say administrators of systems and environments, because we're the ones truly utilizing those credentials and storing them where and how are we accessing them, right? So the majority of those breaches are due to stolen or weak credentials or passwords. Let's keep moving on here. So traditional layered cybersecurity, all right? So most organizations have inadequate visibility, right? Visibility looking into their environment and their infrastructure and their compliances. It's inadequate. They don't have the right tools, or the capabilities to do it. Also, organizations, have layered cybersecurity defense. So what we mean by that, they have all these disparate systems. Right, they're paying for this, they're paying for that, and it's this layered security that it's kind of hard to manage at that point. Keep up with software updates, agents, configurations, management, and maintenance. It takes staff to do that, right? Let's keep moving on. Here, so look at today's challenges. What cumbersome VPNs? Let me just talk about VPNs real quick. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when people call. It's like, can you reset my VPN? It's not working. Something's not working. Or VPNs even getting breached, right? VPNs can get breached. So we think about that, and then we start getting scared to allow people to use VPNs, especially as Adrian was saying. Ever since COVID, working from home, people bringing their own devices, people with their own networks, they're VPNing into our infrastructure and allowing the cyber criminals possibly direct access to our infrastructure through that endpoint, that has this huge vulnerability. It's out of your control, not your network, not your device. So anyway, VPNs, they scare me in a couple different ways. ZTNAs, right? Failed to address securing internal web-based applications. It happens all the time. Why? I don't know. Can you reset that? Why? Why? Bring your own devices, as I was talking about before. Again, scary. You're bringing your own device, your laptop, your cell phone, and you're accessing work resources and critical infrastructure without any control or insights of what's going on with that, or who has access to what within our infrastructure, right? So, and distributed workforces, right? Distributed workforces, they encompass all of that, all of the above, all of what we just mentioned, 1 through 3. Let's keep moving on. So the solution, Keeper Connections Manager, right? It's number one, it's agentless. And when you think about management and maintenance of a product, of a solution that you're using for your cybersecurity strategies, I think about simplicity. I think about no agents that's going to cause me patch updates and worrying about if that agent's going to cause a breach, right? But Keeper Connections Manager is an agentless remote desktop gateway or remote access gateway that's installed on-prem in your environment or within your critical infrastructure and networks, whether that's in the cloud, on-prem, co-location. This is in your control for what and why. So it's not infrastructure coming from the cloud on down into your environment, which is susceptible to a breach, right? That's not the right way to work. So we're going to see how Keeper Connection Manager enhances identity access management, or better said, privileged access management, or privileged session management, how it enhances it and secures it without VPN. And why? Because Keeper Connections Manager has its own cryptographic model. And I'd like to say that our documentation is public, docs.keeper.io. You can read about its encryption models. And other cool things about what's going on, especially when people are accessing critical systems and infrastructures within your environment from home, at Starbucks, a different country, on the plane. You want some recorded web sessions to understand what was done during those sessions. And you also want to control web browsing too. Right? Enterprise browsing, web browsing, secure web browsing. I want people to be able to browse within our infrastructure, but only to these set places in a controlled fashion, for example. And last but not least, password autofilling. This is important because I don't like sharing information directly, specifically passwords. I don't know what people are going to do with that. I give you the password, and for today's example, you're going to see me logging into a web firewall. I give you a password to that directly. You see it. You save it somewhere else in clear text. You print it out, put it under your keyboard. I don't know what you're going to do with that. So let's keep moving on. Let's check out a little bit about Keeper Connections Manager. And the nice thing about this is I love how it gets deployed. We have this one installer that if you run it on a little Linux VM, for example, it literally just deploys in like 5 minutes. Done and done. Okay, so how does it work? I keep on talking about it, but you want to see it, don't you? Let's check it out. Let me go ahead and exit this real quick. Now, let me go to my Keeper Connections Manager portal here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to log out real quick. I want to log out real quick because I've integrated this into my Active Directory, number one, which is nice. You can integrate it into your IDPs for, utilizing the same username and password, getting access to, a platform within your environment. That's nice. But I want you to see something. I want you to see the login flow because you're going to see a username, you're going to see a password, and then you're going to see a two-factor, which is highly important. Right? Rather you integrate or not, you can turn on two-factor on the Keeper side. Okay, two-factor, boom. Now that was my password manager up here, putting that in for me. Okay, so that was my browser extension working for me. And so I like that two-factor because that covers our cybersecurity strategies, for example. Right? Does your platform have two-factor that gains you access to your critical systems and infrastructure? Cool. Well, I'm here at home. Browsing to, say our domain. This is a test domain, right? This is not, you're not running this on Keeper's website or Keeper's cloud environment. This is run within, again, your environment. whether it's on-prem, off-prem, in the cloud, it doesn't matter. Your domain names, your certificates, and that's nice. I'm in full control. And these are a bunch of connections that I've created as an administrator. As a matter of fact, I want to go over here real quick. Let's look at some of these connections. Now, again, I'm an administrator. We're looking at the administrative view and some of these settings, and we'll see what an end user looks like as well. But I start thinking about stuff in my infrastructure, like maybe access to domain controllers, for example, Active Directory domain controllers, or maybe access to critical system and infrastructures within our environment, like a firewall, for example, or a switch, for example. So these are all the connections I have created as an administrator. And if we look at any one of these connections, I don't know, we look at these. Give me a moment here. Let's get this. You'll see some of the protocols that a Keeper Connections Manager does support, anything from remote browser isolation or secure browsing, enterprise browsing, or Kubernetes connections, SQL connections, are just connections across the board. And a couple of different ways to work, and just to skim over this very fast, you could put the information in here in clear text, or you can choose to utilize the Keeper Vault to inject the information in secret. Again, rather working in clear text or working in secret, the administrator is the only person or administrators that can see this section of setting up connections. And look at this. Look how beautiful I love about this. It's not just RDP. You can, say I'm selecting the connection type. It's max connections to that system, max connections per user, things that maybe you didn't know before that you can do with RDP. You have a slew of things in here available to your fingertips to control. Okay, but it's not just RDP. Again, let's go ahead and look at some website connections we've set up and see how we gave them to that end user and how they're going to access it. And this is a connection to our firewall system, internal in our infrastructure. Okay, let's check this connection out here. Right, this is a URL, and we're forcing the only site that they're allowed on. We're going to see this in action. And again, some other parameters and configurations at your fingertips that you can set. All right, let's check these out. Now, I'm an administrator, and I've integrated into our environment, or you can create users manually. And I've had this user over here. And the thing I like about this as well, having users utilize this platform to get access to critical system and infrastructure, because I can control what time they get logged in at, what time they're allowed to log in, what time they're forced to exit. Maybe they're not a salaried employee, they're hourly, and you want to enforce that. What day they're going to start. Nice onboarding experience, and what day they're going to end, whether they're a summer intern or you're letting someone go. That's automatic. What time zone someone may be in to conform to that. But what's most important is what connections do they have access to? Out of all the connections the administrators have created and all the resources within our environment the administrator has created, what are they going to allow that user to have access to at home, right? At home. Accessing this portal from home. Keeper Connections Manager is directly communicating with those target systems, right? So that's secure, and they're showing you a virtual pane externally to the end user externally, okay? And so that's nice that I can put that out there, and I can now conform to how the user uses the platform to get access to infrastructure within our environment. So let's go to the end user. Let's go to the end user, okay? Cool. I'm going to go ahead and log in as another user, again, AD user. And apologies, I'm going to go ahead and grab a password. That is too long for me to remember. So I do save my passwords here in Keeper Password Manager. I'm going to go ahead and just grab that information here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my two-factor. Now, in this instance, I'm just going to use my phone and any two-factor application that can scan that QR code when you sign up and you set it up. Google Authenticator, Authy, Microsoft, anyone that can scan that QR code. Hopefully I put that in time okay, beautiful. Awesome. Well, hey, this is what I have access to. I'm an end user. I don't have anything else other than preferences and my active sessions. But this is nice. Here I am. I'm an end user. I'm using my own devices at home. I'm using my own internet connection. And so I say it that way. And let's talk about using my own devices at home, using my own internet connection. And I am now here, and browsing to the firewall, for example. Let's talk about that. So here's a remote browser isolation, or better known as enterprise browser, for example, or secure browser. So many different names for it these days. Can't keep up. But let's get access to that. Check this out. I'm the IT guy managing firewall. Credentials automatically inject for me. I don't know what they are in secret with that connection profile that the admin set up. And now here I am. I have access to a firewall system within our infrastructure. This is not externally exposed to the World Wide Web for you to manage. I've seen people do that. I've seen firewall interfaces that are exposed to the World Wide Web for you to be able to work from home and manage that. Why? Because now everybody's working from home. That's scary. That keeps your firewall interface susceptible to a brute force attack and a breach. This is more secure. Here I am browsing to our Keeper Connections Manager's web interface, and this is a browser-based admin portal to my firewall, and this is being accomplished. This is being accomplished by containerized browser. Okay, it's containerized. It's not me browsing directly to it and its hostname. I'm connected to Keeper Connections Manager. So I'm going to say this: if my device gets breached and compromised, they can't do like a data exfiltration attack on me, a cross-site scripting attack on me to get access to information or credentials that I've been using for the firewall or information directly with the firewall. That doesn't exist. All right. When my device gets breached, it's not direct access to that web interface and that said system. I'm doing it through Keeper Connections Manager, and vice versa. And vice versa. What if I browsed to a website that was insecure, for example? And so let's see something a little bit more different. So it's just kind of RBI still. So focusing on RBI, let's look at a different experience with RBI. Let's look at, hey, you're in the environment or out of the environment, but you're gonna browse around, and this is what we're utilizing as our secure browser, right? And so cool, awesome. I'm gonna just, hey, dogs, great. Oh, perfect. Oh, wait, I have to go check I gotta go check the sports and see what, apologies, see what the game is and who won. So, all right, NFL. Oh shoot. Well, okay. I know Yahoo usually has that. Yeah. Okay, cool. I got go here. All right, cool. Go Yahoo. I wonder why NFL didn't work. Let me go to.
Yeah, and that I was going to provide some clarity on that. Like, you're able to lock access to certain websites or applications from the platform itself. So that's why, you might try to access some websites that are just not accessible, and that's the beauty of it too. You can restrict access to a single website or application so that the task is done and you're in and out. And yeah, that's one of the cool things about it.
Yeah, absolutely right, Adrian. And you see here, that's not browsing experience we're getting. We're getting the address bar now. The administrator allows us to, starting at the Google, but here now they're controlling where we can actually go. Now you can leave this completely open, allow people to go anywhere, but this is nice because say this was within our infrastructure, or we just really don't want to buy a proxy server and control it that way, right? We want to control it this way. You can easily do that. And you can easily control any allowed resources coming in. Now, these resources would be like videos and images. We have full documentation on this, but you can easily control your user's browser experience within or out of the environment, not just within the environment, right? So let's keep moving on. Yeah, it's remote browser isolation, whether you use it to directly get access to an application or infrastructure within the environment, or websites and web apps in a controlled fashion. It's not just that. It's not just websites, web applications internally in your systems. You're going to have a plethora of systems. You're going to have maybe some Linux machines and Windows machines. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Let's just go there real fast. Start connecting to a couple of systems here. All right, cool, nice. Oh, nice. And it's connecting me to, right, without me ever knowing the credentials to that information. It's just I was allowed access to that connection, and so now the connection shows up within my portal. Okay, and so multiple connections. It's not just one. Maybe you need to work with multiple systems. Cool. Maybe SQL. It doesn't matter. But however many windows you need to come up. And the thing I like about this, especially when I'm working with, if I'm truly utilizing this to manage and maintain infrastructure or monitor, right? I could just, bam, connect to a couple things and monitor them at once, or do an update and upgrade all at once. That's really nice that I could do that. Away from there, let's go ahead and get back over here real quick. Let's just show a little bit about some connections and what they could do. So here I am, right? I connected to maybe a Windows desktop, maybe mine. Maybe I need to administrate something. And the nice thing about this, and when we talk about like no VPNs, and it allows us to do something. Let me do this here real quick. Let me bring up some files. And when I think about no VPNs, I think about how quick I can upload and download things. I don't know. We'll just grab a couple things over here that I'm seeing. All right, cool. And just shoot. Oh, let's see. Bam. Oh, that was sweet. So I think about that. I wanted to show that uploading and downloading. I just dragged and dropped, uploaded and downloaded it. And I like this because with no VPN, my uploads and downloads are not going to get restricted to VPN speeds, right? I have a nice clear path. I'm paying for a gig at home. I got a gig at work, and I want to use as much as I can with it. Now, we've been doing a lot here. And the cool thing about utilizing Keeper Connections Manager is the administrator gets to monitor granularly of what's going on in the environment. Rather, they're in here moseying around and looking around. There's some active sessions. Oh, active session. Let me join that real quick. Now, if this connection was set up in this fashion, an administrator can disconnect to the active session of the user without that user stopping me and having me wait while they, maybe stop playing a video game on their desktop, or they were browsing on Amazon and doing some shopping, right? Look, this is the end user right here. It's my end user. This is their current session. Here, let's do it this way, right? And they see I'm currently looking at them. Boom, right? I'm the admin. I can move around if I want, or I'm just watching that user work. And that's really nice when we talk about monitoring systems. Now, if we're not monitoring systems, or, say that we weren't available to monitor a system at that time, it's not a big deal. One of the things the administrator can do is set up recordings of sessions. Let me go back over to my administrator real quick. No, over here, apologies. Let's go back over to my administrator. Yeah. All right, history. This is nice. Now, history is good for so many different reasons. Jonathan worked on the firewall yesterday with RBI, and now we can't get access to some of our infrastructure or websites we were serving up internally. Well, it's totally cool because you're going to have a full recording of the session and any history, any session you want. We'll have a full recording. Let's check this out here real quick. Cool. Right. So, all right, cool. I want to state that gray. I think it's video, and green is text-based, but let's get that going real quick. Cool. Nice. It's put in there. And then we have a full session to see what was going on. Now, I know we were doing talking most of the time, so not much activity, but no, you can see that this is really cool. The session recording, if you ever wanted to monitor your monitoring systems and their graphs the other day. But regardless, you can see what the user was working on. Let me go ahead and just go over here, see what was done. And a lot of people ask, well, this is loading, because actually this is coming from one of my NAS systems. That's why it's taking a moment here. They say, where do these recordings save at, Jonathan? And the recordings will naturally save on the system. Oh, look at that. You can see it's actually fast forwarding and playing all of the recording quickly. So it could save on the host system serving Keeper Connections Manager, or any target storage system that host system has access to. A Windows share, an iSCSI target, whatever you have set up, this will be done here. But this is cool, right? I don't have to wait and watch the whole recording. I can just get to the spot that I wanted to go to. The recording will take me there. We're almost there. That was a longer recording than I thought. Here we go. Now we're at that section we wanted to be at. And still, it's just not much excitement going on other than me moving a mouse and talking at that time. So yeah. Any of these sessions, you can see. you can see.
Yeah, no, and this is awesome for auditing capabilities too. I mean, it's a game changer there. But yeah, we're going to come up on time. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Just a quick note. Yeah, for anyone who'd be interested in learning more, head over to keepersecurity.com. You can register for a free trial. I did a test with someone the other day while I was talking to them on the phone. They were able to get set up with this in 7 minutes. It's super quick. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your time and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Adrian and Jonathan, especially for a fantastic presentation today. And we now have another poll question up for you. Please let us know what additional information you would like about the Keeper Security Solution. Got a lot of options there, and you can get more than one kind of bit of information from them. So definitely fill that out. Now, I also want to remind everyone about the handouts. We've got a PDF from Keeper Security all about their Keeper Connection Manager. So check that out for more details. That sounds like a really good one. Thanks to everyone who's responded to the poll. We appreciate your feedback. We're going to leave it up here for another moment or two or three while we give away our first gift card. And I did want to mention that we have run out of time for questions. There was so much goodness in that presentation that we do have to get to our next presentation, but have no fear. The Keeper Security team will do their best to get back to you on all the questions that were asked. Okay. Now for the prize drawing, while you continue to vote in that poll, the winner of the first $300 Amazon gift card for the EcoCast today is Jessica Tolbert from Sweet Home, Alabama. Congratulations to you, Jessica. We will be in touch ASAP about claiming your prize. And with that, let's move along to the next presentation in the EcoCast today.
Thank you. In this presentation and short demonstration, we'll be going over protecting Active Directory with Rubrik Security Cloud. Let's start with a brief Active Directory overview. Microsoft Active Directory and Microsoft Intra ID provide employees with the access to everything from external resources like Microsoft 365 to internal resources like your corporate intranet. These critical services unify authentication and access control, verifying that each person is who they claim to be while ensuring they only have access to the data they're allowed to use. The data within these services are also an essential prerequisite when recovering key applications from operational failures and cyber attacks. If Active Directory is compromised and no longer reachable, none of your services are reachable and your business is at a standstill. Let's face it, Active Directory are the keys to the kingdom. 80% of cyber attacks involve identity-based techniques to avoid detection at different stages of an attack. And it takes attackers less than a day, approximately 16 hours, to reach and compromise Active Directory. And unfortunately for most companies, based on the anatomy of a cyber attack, they're only able to detect an attack after all the different stages have been completed by the bad actors and data has been encrypted. And why the need for Active Directory protection? Again, 80% of modern attacks are identity driven. If you cannot trust your source environment, how can you restore Active Directory environment to a new OS without reinfection? And accidents happen. Users and groups can be easily deleted. How can you restore them quickly? How can you ensure that when you restore a user, all its subsequent relationships are restored as well? Think about some other questions. Are you preparing for defending at the Active Directory user level? In the event all Active Directory controllers are compromised, are you able to restore the entire Active Directory from scratch? How many different point solutions does it take to protect your entire environment? This is why traditional Active Directory protection approaches tend to fall short. They're complex, they take multiple days without proper backups, none of the users can access any resources until AD is restored, which results in business downtime. Recovering AD objects with attributes and cross relationships with other AD objects is a complex operation and takes a longer time. And the good old Microsoft AD Recycle Bin supports restores of soft deletes, but not the permanent deletions that are common in a security breach. So let's talk about securing Active Directory with Rubrik Security Cloud. It all begins with auto discovery. Simply point one of your domain controllers to Rubrik Security Cloud, and Rubrik will automatically discover and inventory all other DCs within your environment. Aside from simply discovering the domain controllers, Rubrik will also discover their associated FSMA roles, along with any crucial services they may be running, such as DHCP, DNS, allowing organizations to quickly see what domain controller is providing what services. From there, it is simple as assigning a global SLA, which could be assigned to the domain controllers, providing individual granular protection to individual domain controllers. Once an SLA domain has been assigned, Rubrik will automatically schedule and perform backups adhering to the constructs defined, utilizing Microsoft best practices and WB admin to perform the actual backups. When it comes time to recover, there are a couple different options. First, you can recover your entire domain controllers. This can be done in a few different ways. First, you can recover back to the original domain controller. This is a fast and efficient way to simply roll back a domain controller to a point-in-time backup. If the domain controller cannot be trusted, then there are options to recover to a completely brand new host as well. You can recover easily to a new domain controller containing similar hardware. This is useful for organizations that have a gold template or image they use. They can simply create a new instance of that gold image and initiate the domain controller recovery to it. And finally, Rubrik can recover your domain controller to an entirely different bare metal host as well. Utilizing Windows recovery environments, customers can bring up a new host with the similar hardware and initiate the domain restore to it. With all that said, often we don't necessarily recover an entire domain controller. If we accidentally delete a user or notice a group has been deleted, we can simply recover those individual objects rather than go through the time-consuming process of recovering an entire domain. On top of recovering individual objects, Rubrik will restore their associated relationships with other objects, so you can ensure that a recovered user has the same group memberships as they did when they were initially backed up. Let's go back to this anatomy of a cyber attack slide. As I said, most organizations are only able to detect an attack after data has been encrypted. Rubrik customers for many years have been able to detect any encrypted data and been able to determine the blast radius of that data within their environments. Now with Rubrik's Active Directory protection, Rubrik customers can now move down that kill chain and detect elevated permissions within their environment by using the metadata from their Active Directory backups. Let me show you real quick. Metadata from our Active Directory backups feed our user access feature. Why do we do this? Because DLP systems can be bypassed. User and entity behavior analytics is very heavy. With this metadata, Rubrik will help you understand where your data really is and who has access to it. Understand your data risk and mitigate it, prioritize lists, track changes over time, track risk over time, and be able to remediate quickly, and have a complete track of user activity relative to sensitive data within your organization. And of course, all this happens on the backup data. There is no impact to production. Let's go over how Rubrik Security Cloud Active Directory Protection works before we go into a quick demonstration. Onboarding is simple. Install the Rubrik backup service on your domain controllers and add them as a Windows host to Rubrik Security Cloud. Next, within Rubrik Security Cloud, you must specify the SMB settings to add the on-prem Rubrik Data Vault to the domain being protected. Once added, Rubrik Security Cloud will automatically discover common services, DNS, DHCP, and FSMA roles, Schema Master, Domain Naming Master, Infrastructure Master, etc. Then an SLA domain can be assigned to the domain controllers. Onboarding and backup are quite simple. First, you have your domain controllers, Rubrik Security Cloud, and an on-premise Rubrik Data Vault. It all begins with adding the Windows host to Rubrik Security Cloud that contains Active Directory. Rubrik Security Cloud discovers the additional domain controllers and inventories them. SLAs are assigned to each domain controller. With backups, a secure SMBv3 share is created, discovered, and opened. WBadmin is utilized to write an app consistent backup. And then the SMBv3 share is closed and the VHDX is converted to a patch file. The indexing of our Active Directory backups, we're able to create user metadata indexes that enable querying of user group memberships without the need for production access. The domain controller is backed up to Rubrik Data Vault. The Rubrik Data Vault stores the snapshot with its immutable file system. The snapshot's indexed. UMD is created and stored alongside the snapshot. The UMD is uploaded to Rubrik Security Cloud, and the user access service queries UMD to resolve SIDs to objects. Okay, that was a quick overview for the onboarding and backup, and how we create the UMD for user access from the Active Directory backups. Here are the restore options. For domain level recoveries, we have basically 3 of them: in-place recovery, alternate host recovery, and bare metal recovery. And we can also do object level recovery. And for the use case examples, for in-place recovery, maybe your OS is corrupted, or maybe you had mass object deletion. For alternate host recovery, that's good for recovery from a cyber attack or disaster recovery. Or bare metal recovery, that's basically when you maybe have a physical domain controller recovery, or a virtual to physical recovery, or disaster recovery. And for object level recovery, that's always the case for accidental deletion, malicious deletion, or the occasional rogue script that went away from somebody and deleted a whole bunch of objects. Let's go over the 3 different domain recovery options. In-place recovery, the SMBv3 share is discovered and exposed via live mount. The host restart in recovery mode and restore is initiated, and the live mount is removed and the host is rebooted. For the alternate host recovery, a new Windows host with similar OS hardware and RBS is added to Rubrik Security Cloud. The SMBv3 share is discovered and exposed to the host. The host is restarted in recovery mode, restore initiated, and live mount removed. And for restore bare metal, the SMBv3 share is discovered and exposed via a given IP, secured with custom credentials. And here, the VM or physical system boots into a Windows recovery environment. The path to the share is provided, and then the restore is initiated from the Windows recovery environment. The host is rebooted and the live mount is removed. With 80 object level recovery, the first step is Rubrik Security Cloud calls Rubrik Data Vault APIs to browse the snapshot. The metadata containing objects within the snapshot is sent to Rubrik Security Cloud. The user selects the desired objects to recover. The snapshot is mounted to the domain controller via SMBv3 live mount. The NTDS database within the snapshot is opened and the LDAP session is established. Desired objects are restored. The LDAP session is closed and the snapshot is unmounted. And the metadata on the Rubrik Security Cloud is purged. So maybe you have a use case where the OS is infected and can't be trusted. Remember, with Rubrik's Active Directory backups, the backups are completed at the domain level, not the host level. Domain level backups can be restored to new host. If a cyber attack occurs, often the original host can't be trusted, so the restore workflow is deploy a new VM or physical host with simpler hardware, install the Rubrik backup service, add the host to Rubrik Security Cloud, restore the domain to an alternate host, selecting the newly added host. No need to restore infected operating system files. All right, enough for the slides. Let me show you a Rubrik Security Cloud Active Directory Protection demo. I think you'll like it. Okay, before I start the demo, go ahead and get out your phones and scan this QR code. It will take you to the click-through demo that I'm using for this Rubrik Security Cloud Active Directory demonstration. At the end of this webinar, we'll also provide you the URLs for the reference materials and also this click-through demo you can share with your colleagues. Okay, onboarding Active Directory to Rubrik Security Cloud. First, click Next on the Rubrik privacy policy. And we will go through the different steps of onboarding Active Directory to Rubrik Security Cloud. It starts with click on Manage Domain Controllers. Here's where we will add the Windows hosts that are domain controllers within your environment. Select the Rubrik Data Vault they'll be associated with, and then whether you've installed the backup service or need to install it, and then put in the fully qualified domain name or IP address of the domain controller. Click Add. It's that simple. From here, you'll see the Windows host added. When you click on Back to Data Protection, you will see that the Active Directory domain has been discovered, but you need to configure SMB settings for the Rubrik Data Vault in your on-premise data center. Using a user account that can create computer objects, add the Rubrik Data Vault to Rubrik Security Cloud and click Authenticate. That's it, one-time operation. Now you'll see that the domain has been added to Rubrik Security Cloud. That's it. Let's assign an SLA to the different domain controllers. So an SLA basically defines the frequency and retention of the backups. So click on the domain. Here we only have one domain controller. Click on Manage Protection and assign the bronze SLA domain. That's all you have to do is click Next. We'll automatically assign the SLA domain to that domain and we're done. And you can see here in the left-hand corner, the silver SLA domain has been assigned. Now, let's go through some restore options. In-place recovery of original domain controller. So go in, select the domain controller, click on it, open up the calendar view for the domain controller, click on the date you want to recover from, click Recover. Select Restore to original domain controller, click Next. By default, we do a non-authoritative. Since this is we have one domain controller here, select Advanced Options. And there are some acknowledgements we have to check to proceed. Click Next. And click Recover. And again, those recovery steps we went through previously. They'll be in the Events page right here. So if we want to recover to similar hardware now, very similar operation. Click Next, click on Recover here, and then click on Restore to alternate host, providing the alternate host IP address. Click Next, same acknowledgements, and then click Next here, and recover. It's that simple. And again, you can watch it in the Events page. Now, if you want to do a bare metal recovery, a couple added steps here. So select the bare metal recovery. Click Next. In bare metal recovery, this is the Windows recovery environment that's been started. This is how you're authenticating the SMB share to the Windows recovery environment. Username, password, and IP ACL. Click Next. We're going to live mount the SMB share to that Windows recovery environment. Now let's switch that Windows recovery environment, continue to restore there. Click Next here. Click on Continue, or Troubleshoot, sorry. System Image Recovery. And then click Next. You'll have to play with the mouse during this click-through environment for the Windows PE section, or Windows RE section, sorry. Click on Advanced. Click on Search. And this will put in the path from that SMBv3 live mount. Provide the username or password. And then click Next. Again, you might have to play with the mouse to click on Next. And click Yes. And the Windows recovery environment has begun the bare metal recovery process. Click Next. That's how easy it is to do a bare metal recovery. Now let's take an object level recovery. Scroll down to the bottom of the menu here. Click on Recovering Individual AD Objects. Click Next. Click on the domain. Go to the date and time you want to recover objects from. And then click Recover. And for here, select Granular Recovery, and then click Next. You see the date and time that the snapshot was taken of your Active Directory domain. Expand the domain. Go down to the OU you want to recover objects from. Select it. Select the object, and click Next. And here, there's some options for those objects. Whether you're recovering containers or just the missing objects. Gives you options. And click Next here. You can also recover the password or don't recover the password. And then click Next. And hit Recover. You can see the recovery process has begun. And you can go to the events page here and watch the recovery process. And that completes the short demonstration of the onboarding recovery operations for Rubrik's Active Directory backups. To recap, let's go over a few of the Rubrik Security Cloud Active Directory protection benefits. Data resilience, a SaaS solution for on-prem AD objects, users, and groups, protection against security breaches and accidental deletion, support for crucial Rubrik Security Cloud security capabilities such as air gapping, immutability, encryption, replication, retention lock, RBAC, and archival, and support for user activity monitoring and user access analysis, data recovery, recovery AD through simple search, recursive recovery missing parent objects, recursive recovery missing objects with attributes, and recovery AD as part of a ransomware recovery process, and Rubrik simplicity, SLA domain policy-based approach that eliminates need for configuration of multiple jobs, tasks, and you can leverage the simplicity and unified interface of Rubrik Security Cloud with no storage to configure, no external tools to run. And here are some references used in today's webinar. A blog about defending the heart of your infrastructure, Microsoft Active Directory. A datasheet for Rubrik for Microsoft Active Directory and Microsoft Entra ID. And a web page covering Rubrik User Access Analysis. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar about Rubrik's Microsoft Active Directory protection. Have a great day. Thank you.
Hey, absolutely fantastic stuff there, Shane. Really enjoyed that presentation and loved the demo. And now we've got another poll question up for you. You've seen something very much like this before. What additional information would you like about the Rubrik solution? And you get the same options, strangely enough. So please keep voting in that poll. And unfortunately, Shane is not able to take Q&A today. But if you asked a question, fear not, because Rubrik will be reaching out to you. Remember also, as you continue to vote, the handouts are ready to go and they are all free. We've got one from Rubrik that is a PDF on Active Directory and Entra ID. Thanks to everybody responding to the poll. We love your feedback, and I'm going to leave it up here while I give away the next Amazon gift card of the EcoCast. As Jess mentioned at the beginning, you do have to be present for the whole event to be eligible to win. And the winner of the second gift card for today's event is Chris Rompot from Iowa. Congratulations to you, Chris. And with that, folks, we are going to go back to our presentation that we were going to have before, and we had to move the order because we were having all kinds of really interesting tech gremlins attacking. So I am super hopeful that Aviad has been able to conquer those issues and is ready to go. So Aviad, we've got you live now. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Yeah.
Hey.
I think you got me live. I'm sorry about the technical issues right there.
Oh, no problem. You sound great, and we are ready to go. So please take it away, sir.
Thank you. So we are here to talk about Fronteg. So Fronteg and Fronteg Forward, as we look ourselves as the next generation of customer identity, and you know, as always, we want to start where it all started 5 years ago. Sagid, my co-founder and CEO of the company, and myself founded Fronteg after spending few years working together in a cybersecurity company called Checkpoint, building actually a lot of SaaS products, and finding out that actually building a SaaS product can be pretty tedious and can, be pretty repetitive. Since there, we got 70 million in funding by awesome VCs, and we have super great and trustful customers that we are proud of. And the idea that we kind of wanted to take a different approach and a different view on how customer identity looks like and how customer identity behaves, and this is what we're going to try to cover on these slides and on the product demo. And since then, we managed to get the top emerging player in G2 and the highest rated customer identity solution in G2. And, these are true and honest opinions by true and honest developers and security folks. And what we try to do is we try to take different use cases and different types. So each organization is trying to build, some of them build internal apps, B2B apps, B2C apps, consumer apps, partner apps. Some of them integrate with third-party apps. And there are different flavors and different types for each and every one of these applications. And each and every one of these applications basically requires different authentication flows and different access control flows. And that means that you need to hire what we called a few years ago the platform team. And it still exists in some of the companies. So that platform team needs to sit and design and build TDS flows that actually are not differentiated by any means. These are table stakes for any product. And when you build this, in some cases, you hurting innovation, and in some other cases, you can go specifically wrong. And when you build these flows, for example, in any authentication out there, there's so many flavors. Some of them will require biometrics. Some of them will want to log in with phone number and SMS. Some of them will want to log in with passkeys and passwordless and magic links and magic codes. Some still, require passwordless, and not to mention machine-to-machine tokens, which is 90% of the, authentication and traffic in the internet today. It all comes from machines, not users. And when you are going and facing these challenges, you need to think about security and to see how security blends into this, and how your users and machines are protected against suspicious attacks. And today, in the world of bots and AI, and the Gen AI specifically, the attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated, and that means that logins need to be protected. And when we talk about security, we try to take a broader view on security and how all of these data streamlines and what it gives for our customers to see all of the security events and logs, and to be able to stream them, and to be able to track bad actors, and to get what really matters instead of going into the clutter. And when we say security, this is pretty fascinating, the transition that the world has gone through. Up until 10 years ago, or even less, maybe 5 years ago, when you wanted to change a security configuration, you can just open a support ticket and just ask, to force MFA on your account, or to force MFA on your users, or maybe to even set up IP restrictions. What we believe 5 years ago, and this is how we built a product that we're going to see in a second, is that this cannot continue anymore. We want to give the independence for customers to build and customize security flows without being dependent on support tickets and on support teams and on back office operations. Essentially, when you are delegating security to end users, you are giving them the power to choose, how security needs to behave in their organization. And eventually, when you are giving them the power, you are creating trust. And this is what we try to do. So the idea is that we build an admin portal that we're going to see, and this is being used by our hundreds of customers in order to delegate security and to delegate operations into their end users. And, eventually we have great customers that are using our solutions to migrate from different tools just to delegate security and to save engineering costs, and not to make costly security mistakes when going on that. So before we continue, I'm gonna go to screen share and gonna take a look on how it looks like, because demo is probably the best way to go on this. Great. So Fronteg, as I mentioned, is a security customer identity tool. And that means that Fronteg behaves like a customer identity IDP, identity provider. There are several ways to integrate. I always like to go here to the docs to begin with to see that whether you're front-end SDK, back-end SDK, mobile, whatever application that you have, the integration strives to be as simple as an open source SDK installation and these 5 lines of code. So that's a great example for React. Obviously, any single page application, any backend SDK, and any mobile SDK, Fronteg is an OpenID Connect provider, and that means that you can connect any third-party app. And when we take a look, so for example, I'm going to Loud API. Loud API is a proud demo customer of ours. They integrated a React SDK, and then when you are going to Loud API, you're being redirected to a Fronteg login page. Now, the idea here is that once I'm logging into the application, I'm being authenticated by Fronteg. If I want to change something on that login page, we try to make it real easy for developers to change anything, and that means that on the Fronteg management platform, this is the place where our customers, the developers, the product manager, the security team, are changing anything with regards of security and login flows. And we built a pretty unique no-code builder that allows customers to tweak anything with regards of how the login behaves. For example, if I want to remove login with SMS, that's as simple as just clicking on this button. If I want to add login with Apple or login with Slack instead of a login with Microsoft, if I want to change my login methods from password to magic code or magic link, and it goes all the way even to consent management on what is the terms of use and privacy policy that customers will see when they activate their account, and whether they need to check the box for this or just to provide them with text. And even on, we didn't leave the designers and product aside. You can even change the security, the layouts, the UI layouts, and change the way that they behave. And it goes all the way towards where the social login button should be positioned, whether it's up or down, and provide A/B testing on top of it. Once I do that, I can just publish, go back to my login page, reload the page, and I got the new experience. When I'm logging into the product, I know that my security for Loud API, my security and login is being provided by Fronteg. And if I'm a customer of Fronteg, I can go to any one of the environments that I integrated, click on the security tab, and see all of the security events that Fronteg provides me with, okay? So here on my dashboard, I have a security dashboard that shows me all of the security policies that I want to see. I can control session management, and I can control security rules. Now, the security rules here are, I can go into impossible travel, for example. Okay, I don't have any security rule applied now, but I can go and just change what the security will look like. I can block or I can challenge. Okay, and same for bots or device fingerprinting or brute force protection. So each and every one of these security engines have been built by Fronteg. Okay, and I can see how bot detection behaves like, how device fingerprinting behaves like. Some of them are AI based. If customers are using suspicious IPs to log in, or if I detect one user trying to log in from several places in the same time, or trying to log in with breach password. Sign up is another crucial, where I can just block users, okay, based on their email credibility. If they're logging in from emails that are not reliable and trying to spam my system, I can even block that. I can do it from here, which is a toggle in, toggle out, or I can do it from one of the latest additions to the Frontend management platform, which is the security flows. So once I go to the security flows, I can see the entire flow of how login passes through the system and where's the security rules. And I can even ask an AI prompt agent to add impossible travel checks. And then it applies the security configuration. I can add it only for admin users. Cool. And then what happens here in that use case? So I have an impossible travel set. It allows Frontend MFA, and you even have a configuration here that says, okay, I'm going to apply it only when a user is high privilege or admin, and I can always tweak this code over here. So that with regards of security policies on the level of applications, okay? With Frontend, you can create multiple applications and define different security policies for each and every one of them, but that wasn't enough for our customers because they, as I mentioned, they wanted to delegate security for their end users. So going back to the application that integrated Frontend, that's a Loud API application, I'm now logged in as a user of Loud API. And when I'm logged in as a user of Loud API, I'm expecting the application to provide me with capabilities to change my own security profile and to change my organization security profile. So when I'm clicking on account settings just over here, I get a widget developed by Frontend as part of my application. So that's another part of the Frontend integration that we've seen on these 5 lines of code. And now I am a user of Loud API, and Loud API integrated Frontend into their application. Now I'm able to change my own profile, and I'm able to change my MFA methods on both passkeys, set up SMS login, and even change my password, okay? And that's all on my personal account. Now, the developers of Loud API didn't need to build these screens. These screens are part of the Frontend integration. They come out of the box. You can tweak them, and you can change them, and you can customize them, but you don't need to build them as a developer that is using Frontend. Same for if you are using machine-to-machine tokens to provide your customers with CLIs and CI/CD integrations. Frontend provides that and the security around it as part of the self-service mechanism and as part of the Frontend approach. And if you are B2B, it even gets more interesting, where the invite flow is covered by Frontend, and you can provide granular access for specific users for specific times and provide them with a delegated of roles and set up what permissions they get within the product. And we know when we are building a B2B app that not all customers are the same. So when you are building a B2B app, in some of the cases, you'll face highly regulated customers. And in some of the cases, you'll face customers that, less care about security. And when I started my slides that you want to delegate security to these end customers, this is what I meant. So what we built is a security delegation tool that our customers, the developers that integrate Frontend, integrate within their product that they're building. and they provide their end users and their customers the ability to change and to see security recommendation on how to make their account security stronger. For example, here I'm logged in to an account called Fiverr, and I get list of security recommendation on how I can enhance this account to be more secure. I can enable idle session, I can enable force relogin. I see that 2 of my 8 users have breach password, so I can log them out, and I can enable IP restriction. If we go over these policies one by one, I can see that as a end customer, I can just change the MFA configuration to be false for all of the users of that specific account. Now, this is where the multi-tenancy and the security comes into play, because when you change this configuration, it doesn't affect other customers. It just affects that specific customer. And it provides that customer with the flexibility to change session management flows and to even go to the IP restriction, okay, and to say, listen, I'm forbidding users to connect from any IP. I'll add the allow list right over here, and I'll make sure that my users are logging in only from my Office VPN, and because it's highly regulated application, and they need to be aware of where they are logging in. And I can even block domains from being invited to that account, okay? Or I can deny specific public domains, etc. So that's the idea of delegated security, including the admin portal. Obviously, the users can come from users federation or user provisioning, and that's the general idea. The one last thing I'm gonna mention over here with everything with regards of security and security flows is that obviously in order to meet these highly regulated compliance requirements, everything needs to be well audited. So we built a customer-facing audit logs mechanism that shows the end users what is going on and what custom configuration are changing. And they even have a cute IP resolver that shows where these operations is being done from, and everything is available right over here. So that's Fronteg on a nutshell. Back to you, Keith.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's get here to the to your QR codes here, Aviad. Would love for people to click on those and sign up. Right? Those look great. Are you ready for some questions, sir?
As always, yeah.
All right. Okay, so I wanted to also mention, while we are getting those ready, everyone, I want to remind you that we've got a handout from Fronteg, also called the Fronteg Security Approach Software Design, Architecture, and Philosophy. That is absolutely free and available for you to get from the handout section. So please look that over and download that while we are going through your great questions. I love that demo, Avia. One of the things that impressed me about it, very clear, very easy to understand and get through. You know, it'd be hard to get lost because it wasn't this maze, you know, of forms that you're going through one after another. So I really enjoyed that. Okay, so let's go through some of your questions. How are you? Here's the first one for you. How are you different from Auth0?
Yeah, so there are several customer identity and access management tools. Auth0 is one of them, you know, currently acquired by Okta. Fronteg strives on two different parts. One of them is obviously the self-delegation and the delegated administration, where we allow the end user eventually to customize and configure everything with regards of their security flows. And obviously everything with regards of B2B, the user invites, the customization around SSL configuration and user provisioning makes Fronteg unique in that space, including everything with regards of, we didn't see that, but the entitlements engine that provides authorization flows on top of just simple RBAC with feature flags and subscription plan authorization. Put Fronteg as a whole complete identity provider, not just an authentication provider.
Oh, great. Perfect. Okay, here's a question that I think a lot of folks have. Anytime you're moving to a new security provider, people want to know how fast is the integration. Another way of asking that is, what's the learning curve like to start using Fronteg?
Mm-hmm. So, obviously you'll need a developer to integrate Fronteg into your application. But we've seen the integration is 5 lines of code. What we try to do is, once you integrate these 5 lines of code, to make it easier for different personas within the organization, such as product managers on the no-code builder, security team on the security engines, to customize and to build everything with complete independence from the developer. And if you are migrating from specific, other customers, we have solutions for that as well.
Okay, great. And while we get the next question ready, I'm going to put up the poll here too, because we haven't done that yet. So please let us know what additional information you would like to get about the Fronteg solution. After that great demo and that information, I imagine there's going to be a lot of interest in learning more about Fronteg. So folks, please keep voting in that poll while we go through some more questions. Okay, next up for you, Aviad. Anne has a question about your encryption standards. So can you kind of give us an overview of what the encryption standards are with your product?
Yeah, sure. So on the passwords, obviously everything is completely hash and salted. One way, there's no way for us to know passwords on clear at any point. And everything is encrypted on 512 and sometimes 2K encryption keys. And everything is protected, obviously, on segmented and isolated databases that are encrypted by our amazing cloud providers as well.
Okay, great. Very secure, in other words. Okay, Rohan has a question. Where does Fronteg store customer data?
So we have 4 different global regions within the world. So we have Europe as a region. We have US, obviously, as a region. We have Canada and Australia. So 4 different regions. We do provide private deployments for customers that need, to store somewhere else. But our public availability are these 4 regions, and every region has multiple data centers that are backing up each other.
Okay, fantastic. I think we have time for one more question. I do want to point out that any questions that we could not get to today, that I'm sure Fronteg will be following up with for all of you who are asking questions. So here's a really important one that a lot of folks are going to be wondering about as well, Aviad. What is your uptime commitment?
Oh, that's a good one. So Fronteg strives for 4 nines, which means up to 52 minutes a year. And we are currently working on an active architecture that will bring it even to a 5 nines, which means we are always up as a methodology.
Exactly. Okay. So before I let you go, for all those who are now super intrigued by the Fronteg solution, what would you recommend should be their next step right after this event ends today, Aviad?
Come again? I'm sorry,
what would you
recommend?
So someone's been listening, they're really intrigued and they want to go further with Fronteg. What do you recommend they do as their next step?
Just go to fronteg.com. There's a start for free, no credit card required. You get a 30 days trial. You can integrate. Everything is open, and just play with the product. It's, docs, and the platform is open, and just go.
All right. Free is good, and it fits within every single budget out there, doesn't it? So we appreciate that. Aviad, it has been a delight to have you on. I want to thank you for being here and for educating us on all the innovative and great things that Fronteg is doing. Thank you for being with us on the EcoCast today.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone, that was Fronteg and Aviad and a great presentation. And I am so glad we got those tech gremlins fixed and taken care of, and we were able to get that one done. So much fun. And with that, we are approaching the end of our event today. I've got one more Amazon gift card to give away first. And that winner of that gift card, the final one of the event, is Bruce Curtis from California. So 3 winners today. Congrats to you, Bruce, and the other winners. And sit tight, all of you winners. You'll be hearing from us ASAP on how to get your prizes. So with that, folks, this has been a great event. I have enjoyed and learned so much about the topic, about identity and access management. A few topics are more important. And if you learned a lot, if you had a good time today, I want you to know that we can do this exact kind of thing for you. We've got multi-vendor events like the one you've been on today. We've got single vendor events that we can custom build an event just for you to highlight what you're doing out there. If this is you and you want to learn more, send us an email at connect@actualtechmedia.com and we will get right on that and help you out. Would love to hear from you. So let us know about that. Okay. Now we have got another event coming up tomorrow that I think you'll be super interested in. It's got AI in the title. So of course that picks up your antenna, doesn't it? And locks you in. So the title of this is an expert series presentation called AI Revolution 2024, Unlocking Business Value with AI in Enterprise IT. We have one of my very favorite presenters that's going to be going through that tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic learning there. Highly entertaining of that, I am sure, and I promise. So that's going to be happening tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Sign up right after the event ends, which is any moment now, folks. On behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank all of our presenters for putting together these fantastic presentations, demos, Q&A insights, and I want to thank the sponsors without whom we would not be doing this right now, and they include Keeper Security, Rubrik, and Fronteg. Finally, last but not least, I want to thank all of you attendees for being here. You know I love being on with you and chatting with you and getting to know you. Thanks for your interest in the topic and for spending part of your day with us and with me. I can't wait to see you in the next one, folks. And that's about all. Go forth and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.